Hello all, welcome back to another video on Snowflake scripting. In the last session, we have practiced how to create an anonymous block in Snowflake. In this video, we will concentrate on defining variables and scope and life of the variable within the anonymous block in Snowflake. Variables can be defined at the declaration section or execution part. Let me define few variables at the declaration section and few at the execution part. So declaring the variables at the declaration and passing the default values with the different ways, and defining variables at the declaration but passing the values within the execution block, defining the variable within the execution block and passing the value using the default values, and defining the variable within the execution without the data type. So this data type explicitly based on this calculation. If it is a float, it will assign the float. If it is a number, it will assign to the number data type for the bonus. So let's execute and see how it works. For that, I'm going back to Snowflake and execute here. Check how it goes. So here you can see ename, Adam, bonus is here, and then date of joining here. So this is how um, the variables will be defined in the anonymous block. Similar way it works even for the stored procedures. Now let's see the scope and life of a variable. This section is very important, particularly during the production issues. There could be scenarios where this value I'm expecting this and this the value is coming different, those kind of things. In order to solve those kind of issues, you should know how the variable behaves in different sections of a anonymous block or stored procedure. Now let's write a anonymous block, and I'm taking vname, passing the default value to it. I will insert that value into newly created table, passing variable to it, and here in the text, the starting of the main block. And so let's execute this and see how it works. Okay, so now it is saying there is an error at statement error at line 4, and it is saying invalid in identifier. So this is because the vname is a variable in the block and we are passing it to table. So then it should be at the bind variable. We cannot pass directly. So bind variable with goes with the colon before the variable name. So let's execute again now. Okay. So now anonymous block is successful. Let's write the query again and see what data is there. Okay, so you can see that the value is Adam, and then it is at the starting of the main block. time instead of querying like this, I'm thinking to write something within the anonymous block so that it itself will query the select statement and give the result at the end of the anonymous block. So for that, what I'm doing is I'm defining the variable result, and then as a result set, okay, and defaulting it a select statement. Okay, so let me write this in Visual Studio. So defining a variable as a result set and defaulting with a select statement, and then I will return that result since it is a select statement, so it should be table type here. Okay, and let's run this one. Okay, so now you can see that I'm just returning directly from the anonymous block only, instead of writing the select statement outside the block. Block, by using assignment equal to, pass the value, and again print this one. I mean, again insert the data into this table here after us reassigning the value, right? After okay. Now let's run the. So what I'm trying to do here is initially I defined the variable and defaulted with the value, and I'm inserting that here, and then I'm reassigning the value with some other value, and again I'm inserting that record into here. Since we already have the first record, again it will duplicate the record. So for that, I'm deleting the table at the starting so that every time it will be a empty table, and then it will insert the records within the block. Okay, let's run this one. Okay, so our expectation is table should be emptied and should insert two records, one record here, one record here. And our expectation is one record should be with the Adam, the default value from this insert statement, and the record with the Smith, since we reassigned the variable with the new value. And these return should display the two records. Okay, let's execute this and see what happens. Okay, so what happened is we are seeing Adam 2 times. Okay, so what happened here? Let's execute the table and check. So the table is showing properly Adam Smith, but this results is having some problem. Okay, so that's the issue here. So to fix this, actually what is happening is the result we are defaulting here. So the result set is executing here itself at the starting, and that is a displaying. Actually, it has to happen. The select statement should execute just before the here. So in order to do that, instead of defaulting it here, so let's just define the variable here, and then here Here, write the select statement. So now you can see that initially we define the variable and pass the value, and then to execute this one more time. Now you can see that properly it is assigning. So that was the issue of defining the variable, defaulting the value to this result variable. Okay. So now I'm gonna define another anonymous block within the main block, and I will try to print same insert statement inside. Okay. And then I will just change the message inside nested block. Okay. So I want to see what is the life of this variable. Okay. So will it be available within the nested block or not? That's my intention. So let's execute this and see. Yes. So this is available even inside the nested block here. But however, whatever the latest value that is assigned, so that value will available here. So that's why Smith is available inside the nested block also. I will declare same variable within this one, okay, with the same name. And pass some other name. Okay. So now we have two variables. One variable outside of this nested block, one variable inside this block. So earlier we could able to access the outside vname inside the nested block as well. Now the thing is we have the variable, local variable with the same name. So now the question is which will take the precedence. So let's see how it works. You can see that the local variable has more precedence than the outside variable. So that's why when you see that initially here Adam printed, here we reassign the value with the Smith, and then this insert statement printed that, and within the nested block we have the same variable, same name but the local variable, so it will take the precedence. That's why it is printing now this one, Clark. Okay. So now what will happen outside of this block? Okay. So now my intention here is whether this local variable to within this block, will it be available outside, or the global, or the variable that we defined here will be printed here in this section. Okay. So outside nested block, which is obviously at the end of the main block only, but my intention here is will this vname will have the Clark as the value or the Smith as the value. So in order to test that, let's execute this. Okay, so outside the block again, it went back to the actual value. So to the Smith.